Welcome, my loves, to Mel's Musings. Yes, this is a new little offer that came through me the other day. I've been sharing so much, and one thing that I share deeply with my clients on Voxer is little channeled messages back to support them on their journey. And it got me thinking, because I'm always sharing and voice noting, and I wanted to let that be part of just this kind of expression. I feel like when I get rolling and I start talking and I get out of my own way, there's a lot of wisdom in the share, and I want that to be part of, until my Spill the Spirituality podcast comes back up, a way that I can express and connect, and in a longer version that gives you maybe some insight or understanding through my experience and how that can support you. And this last week for me has been a little bit of a death and a rebirth, and I really feel when I go through these deaths and rebirths and have this deep understanding of why and how it happens before a lot of other people experience the collective shift. So if I can, through my experience and through my highs and lows and how I understand it within my own being, can share that, and it can support you when you are in these challenging times, looking for yourself, trying to understand with all the information that we are part of all of the time. There is so much being shared, expressed, projected, programmed, that we are constantly in receiving of and deciphering what is the truth. And I think that's where this little episode today came through me this morning as I was getting ready, and I thought, so many people share what their truth is. I want to share my truth. I want to be authentic. I want to show up and be my authentic self, my best version of myself in my truth. But a lot of people don't know what that is. And they say truth, but sometimes I think it gets stuck in the mind of a narrative that they believe. I want my life to be this. This is my truth. And it comes from a very protective way of expressing truth. It becomes I want this and I expect this, and if I don't receive it, then I'm not going to change. So I'm going to dig my heels in and set these protective boundaries on what I will accept in my life and what I won't. And that's definitely necessary as you start to recognize life hasn't been going the way you'd like it. You may have regrets in the past of how things have played out, and you want to change that. And you have to start somewhere. But the mind will only ever be able to keep you in a space of safety, a limited safety that you know from the past. And you are dictating or predicting from the past what the future is going to be. So this is not a felt truth. This is not an embodied truth. This is a new narrative that you are creating to protect yourself. And I see this a lot when people start to share their truth. And your truth is your truth of the awareness that you're at the moment. And that is where anyone is going to perceive you at. But if you want to be in your truth, it's about understanding your humanness and the ways that you have coped to survive, and really being able to first have critical thinking in a way that, how can I question even when it feels like my truth and I'm reacting to it in a way that I don't want this to happen to me again, I want this to happen. How can I question that, where it's coming from, what I'm actually feeling? Is that coming from my truth, or is that coming from a narrative of my protective self? And this is where we really have to be able to hold ourselves differently, where the nervous system comes into play, because this is about expanding your nervous system out of fear, because your nervous system fears the feelings of the past. And that is what we're protecting ourselves from. We're not protecting ourselves from what's going to happen or what could happen. We are protecting ourselves from the feelings that will come up in a result from that. And when we don't trust ourselves to feel what is trapped from the past and locked in an unconscious cellular level in our bodies will always react to circumstances outside of ourselves that trigger these emotions in fear. We are not going to have the space to respond differently, to change the pattern of that, if we aren't aware of how we created that way of coping in the first place. We will just go into protection, we will go into reaction, and we'll either project, create chaos outside us to validate the feeling, or we will blame something outside of us for the reason why we are feeling it and stick to the narrative that we've created to protect ourselves, or we'll shame ourselves deeply. Why I should have done better, could have, should have, would have. The reason why we do this is because this is what we created to cope, to protect ourselves from the feelings that were never accepted as a child, and now our needs are hidden. So what happens is we protect the feelings that the emotion that came through in that time of need. And what happens when we shut down those emotional loops and they've never been met, we lose the ability to understand what we need. So we are 40, 50-year-old men and women walking around in this world with unmet needs in a state of protection from our own feelings. And I find this the trickiest part to unravel, hence why I created Foundations of Self, because after working with hundreds of people, it was evident to me that everyone goes through this understanding of themselves. And the best way I could describe the spiritual psychology of our humanness to people so they could understand it in a way and see it within themselves, to begin to build trust, to understand how to go within. Everybody has this go within, work through the layers, go and find your inner child. You are not going to have the trust to embody and reclaim your inner child if you can't regulate and hold the emotion that is presented through your reactions in the world from your inner child to the world. You are not going to be able to have the ability to respond differently when those reactions come through. And if you do then reveal, say through breath work or some sort of medicine or technique or circumstance, if you can't regulate when those emotions are revealed to respond to them differently, you will just re-traumatize yourself and then go down the same pathways to shut that emotion down and go back to what you know. But the worst thing is you have the awareness, you can't unsee what you've experienced, you know where it's come from, but you just don't know how to get yourself out of that emotional loop. And this is where the deep shame comes from. I'm doing the work, I've been doing this for years, I've been healing, but you're stuck in the same emotional loop. The same circumstances and situations keep drawing towards you, and you are reacting to them the same way. And that keeps you in this victim state where life is happening to you. But what if it's happening for you and you have that understanding? And then instead of reacting to life, see those reactions as this portal, a little cord that slowly you can work your way back in as you build trust with your body, and you can expand your nervous system in the emotions that are coming through from the situation and circumstance in the present moment. What we are reacting to outside of ourselves is a reaction that is coming from the past. And you could be a 40-year-old person with a 3-year-old reaction to a situation or circumstance outside of you. And what we go into is a nervous system reaction where the mind then plays the loop that it knows to create from the past certainty for the future. And this is where we get stuck in the mindset work, where we don't embody in the understanding of why we created that way of coping. What is that pathway when I have that reaction? What am I thinking? What is my reaction to the situation and circumstance? When I understand that reaction, instead of blaming or projecting onto that situation or circumstance, what if I come in and say to myself, what does that make me feel? Now, most of us don't know what we feel because it is uncomfortable to feel in our bodies. It creates contraction, it creates uncomfortable experiences in our physical body that we've learned to move away from, that we don't trust anymore. But we have to build the trust that we can stay a little longer in the uncomfortable in our human bodies. When those emotions, which is energy in motion, come up or are triggered, instead of reacting to them or shaming them or blaming the situation, what if we validated those feelings that are moving through us? What if we gave it space? It might not be right, but what if we just validated that this, in this present moment, my experience is this, and this is what I am feeling? Breathe into that. Acknowledge that. Allow that to be okay. Because you need to be the one that validates what is being expressed. Because feelings aren't something that can be met with logic. You're never going to understand your feelings with logic. They are raw, they are simple, and they are covering up unmet needs. So they are going to make no sense to the logical brain, or even the 40, 50-year-old self that is experiencing it in relationship to the situation or circumstance that is in front of us. It will seem overreactive. But depending on your nervous system response, whether you fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, depending on attachment styles in how you grasp on, if it's in relationship to another person, how that will play out for you. Then it's what goes on in the mind. What is now looping in the mind to keep you distracted from the uncomfortable feeling in the body? The mind will then create the chaos, the disconnection from the body, from the feeling that is coming up, so that you can disassociate and cope. Then we go into our coping mechanisms, and that keeps us in this loop of disconnection where we are in blame and shame, projecting, and then all we do is spend our time fixing the chaos that we've created from our reactions, and then beating ourselves up for the situation and circumstance and how we reacted to it. So we never get to the core. We never hold ourselves in what we are feeling. We never validate just what is, to question a little deeper of, where have I felt this before? And those three questions, as you can slowly breathe back into the body, allow there to be some space, some stillness, to maybe allow that intuitive knowingness that you're okay, that what you are feeling is valid. And if I allow myself to validate those feelings, I'll give myself some space for my nervous system to regulate. My breath, then, when my body is regulated, my mind will slow down, and I will be able to move inwards to feel, to stay a little longer with the uncomfortable feeling that's risen from a reaction from the past. And then once I build that trust where I'm constantly coming from my head to my body, head to my body, and I'm validating what is in the present moment and staying with it, even if I don't understand it, but allowing that to be okay with no shame, but acceptance, I will build trust enough to follow the cord back into the inner child that is actually expressing the pain through me in this present moment, reacting to this situation and circumstance. But until we build that trust, until we understand how we avoid, until we understand how we protect ourselves through fear of our own feelings, we're never going to know the path back into ourselves, to know the honest truth, not what we've learnt, not what trauma has created, not through the lens of wounding, not through what we've learnt through our ancestral line and it's carried in our DNA. We're not going to understand any of that until we create safety again in our body to feel. Once we allow this space, we get to follow those cords back in to the memories that are locked in our cells and our bodies, that are constantly vibrating at a level to keep attracting in these situations and circumstances for us to either evolve from or repeat. And I know every one of you have had a situation where you're like, I thought this was different and now I'm here again. I've been doing all the work and I understand this, but why am I here again? What's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. It's building trust. It's understanding your humanness. It's understanding that you've been in fear and surviving since a little boy or girl. And until we understand how to hold ourselves like we needed as a child for the needs that came through with the emotions that weren't met, we need to relearn to reparent ourselves. But the process of beginning reparenting yourself starts as we move from the mind through our belief systems back into the body, understanding how our nervous system reacts to protect us, and then understanding in that reaction how we have shamed ourselves, blamed, and projected our feelings onto the world. And then we have constantly been searching by projecting our feelings outside of us for the validation of who we are, where we are at in the world. We are looking for our truth through external validation. But the reason why we're looking for that external validation is because we're wanting to fill that internal void. And the internal void that you are deeply wanting to fill cannot be filled without you. It has to be filled within. And this is where this foundation of self-work is so powerful, because you will be able to identify what you need. And when you know what you need, you will know what is true for you. When you know how to feel through the full emotional loop and hold yourself with loving care and to show up for what you need in that moment, you are breaking cycles, you are reparenting yourself, you are rewiring your nervous system, and you are expanding that into spaces of the unknown to expand and grow in. And there is going to be more space for your soul's truth, for your truth, for the understanding of your path and why you're here, because you will be able to reclaim yourself from the past, to be present in the moment, to then change what is you moving forward. And I want you to know that is your truth. Truth can't be learnt outside of you. Truth can only be felt through understanding yourself deeply and embodying everything that has kept you disconnected from yourself, from your path, and being able to be the unique being that you are, to express your own truth. We're not here to be the same. We're here with our own unique blueprint and path and way of being, to anchor ourselves in our own truth and energy. And that then ripples through and gives everyone else permission around you. Whether that is through being a great parent, through showing up in the work that you do, but really it's just showing up as you, because that energy, by just being you and having a deeper understanding with love and compassion, changes your whole perception of the world outside of you. And when you can come from that place of understanding how that changes everything you see, you question everything. And you question everything to run that through your emotional filter of truth. And to know whether you're running it through a narrative that's protecting you or running it through the emotional filter of felt truth in your body, in your soul, that is right for you. And the only way you're ever going to understand what you need is to be able to close the emotional loops that are still activated from your past in your body. And we start with the mind and we slowly work back in. Because as we gradually build that trust to understand why we created all these ways to cope and survive from our childhood, to feel safe, we now know we no longer need those ways of coping. But to unravel that, it takes courage. And it's not an easy path to choose. But the understanding you will create of the truth, your truth, is not now just learnt understanding and knowledge in the mind. It is a felt way of being that you live your life from. And the trust that you build, even in the challenges when life is throwing everything at you, like my last week, you know you're going to be okay. There's this unwavering knowingness that you are okay, even when life feels like it's falling apart around you. And there are cycles of death and rebirth. And when we're moving so close to a new way of being, and letting go of an old identity that's protected us, a narrative that may have been passed down to us, something we've learnt, a way we've been programmed in society from, it does feel like a death. But it's not a physical death. It's an emotional death of a protective way of self, an aspect of you that no longer serves you. And I want you to know on this journey of going back within to find your truth that when you are reacting, it's not all of you. It doesn't mean everything that you have done and have moved through and transversed to understand where you're at right now is invalid. It just means right now an aspect of you is having a reaction for you to either repeat or evolve from. And if I can share with you more through my little Mels musings and understanding of how I've found my truth, if I can share that wisdom that I know to be true in my humanness and my soul's path, then I want to, through my words and through my expression and through my experience, share that with you. And if that just changes one person or triggers one person to question themselves or deepen their understanding of their own humanness, to find that soul connection that they long for within themselves, then that's a gift that lights my soul. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you understand what your soul's path is in this human body you've landed in right now, especially as we come to midlife, because there is an urgency in a way that we want the rest of our life to be and mean something, and to have an impact in a way that we may not have been able to do while we were in survival, doing family, doing the work, achieving the way that we were told to achieve. When that no longer feels important to us and there's a deeper meaning to life that we're looking for, it's within us, but no one can explain that. And I want to try and explain it to you through my own path, through my own wisdom of what it feels like in my body, and give hopefully some sort of translation that will make sense to you and easy attainable steps to maybe work with. Because midlife is a place that we cannot take our little boy and girl wounds with us into the wisdom years of our lives. We are moving into the soft era, the peace, the understanding of our own life and what we have transversed to take the wisdom from that, not just the wounds. The wounds are your wisdom. If you can work through them and reclaim the aspects of you that are stuck in moments of time, feeling pain, when you can actually reclaim those parts of yourself and hold yourself through those feelings, life changes, the energy shifts, and you start to embody more of your soul's truth, more of your path. You find a different way of being in relationship to your life, which is a relationship to self and everybody around you. So I hope my little Mels musings, my first little Mels musing, has given you a little piece of wisdom to maybe ponder on, reflect on, or just call bullshit on. Nothing that I say is here to sway you if it doesn't feel like your truth. But if I can guide anyone that feels that this resonates with them back into their own understanding, then that's what I'm here for. And I want to just keep sharing when I feel called to have these little moments with you, have these little shares of intuition and guidance that may just spark a little understanding in the challenging times that we are facing as a human on this planet as we evolve. And we're here to find that peace and love within our side of ourselves, to change our perception and perspective on the life around us. And if we can all do that individually, imagine what that's going to create collectively. So sending you so much love, and I hope this landed in a place right now for you that has given you some hope, inspired you to ask some more questions, and to maybe have a little more understanding of what truth is. Love you.